Let's get to it. All-time draft of 2016 presented by McDonald's. Money Monopoly. You go to McDonald's, you peel it off. You can win cash. You can win prizes. All sorts of stuff, not unlike 32 general managers are going to get prizes in the form of human beings.
I like that.
The all-time draft, though, let me just lay it out for you for the newcomers here. As I said at the top of the show, same draft order as it exists in 2016, including the Rams now having the first overall pick and the Titans now down to 15. Same team needs, same roster in effect as it stands as we have this conversation, and we're evaluating the all-time great football players out there as they're coming out of college. Of course, this doesn't work if you already know that Jim Brown is going to be a dominant NFL player. You would take him no matter what you had on your roster. So try and evaluate them as collegians at 21 years of age. Let's review the picks. You see Joe Namath out of Alabama.
Hollywood Joe.
Yeah, Hollywood Joe went to the Rams, a splashy pick there. Jim Brown out of Syracuse stays in state. Number 10, he goes to the New York Football Giants. That seems like a good fit there. On to the second 10 picks there. Peyton Manning goes to the New Orleans Saints. That's his hometown, so that should be nice for that kid. Had a nice 4 years up in Knoxville. You're familiar with him, Dan Hellie.
That I am.
Bo Jackson out of Auburn went to the Raiders. That seems like a fun pick for them. Now we move on to pick number 21. Dan Hellie. Well, you know what? Before we get to Dan Hellie's pick, let's hear what Bucky Brooks, draft expert supreme, says the Skins need to do, what they need to do in 2016.
The Washington Redskins are aiming to repeat in the NFC East, but they have to address their defense. They could look at the defensive line and try and find some guys to fortify the in-between the tackle spot, or they could go to the perimeter and look for a lockdown corner, someone that can shut down half of the field and allow the rest of the defense to zone around it. When I look at the draft class, a couple guys of interest. Mel Blount, big physical player, a guy who has long arms, excels at playing bump and run coverage, really chokes out receivers on the perimeter. But there's another kid that he's competing with that I liked at the Combine. How about Michigan's Charles Woodson? Do-it-all playmaker, plays on both sides of the ball, plays some wide receiver. I think his career is going to be a cornerback. Love what he brings to the table as a returner. It is tough. I like Charles Woodson, but, man, the length of Mel Blount is impressive. I think he might be the pick.
Claybon, how say you?
I like the Woodson pick. I think it makes sense.
Won the Heisman Trophy, might be able to return punts for you.
I don't know how much offense you want him to play, but
yeah, probably not.
He's going to be over there and going to be a good player for a long time.
Little lean though for the pro game, don't you think? I don't know if he's going to make it. I don't know if he's sturdy enough to last for any amount of time in the NFL. Handsome.
Dave, I like Bucky's both of Bucky's suggestions, but I really like. There's a guy who's caught my eye. I'm kind of Al Davis-y in a way. A guy called Darrell Green, I think, could really work there. Could play a long time in Washington.
There's a kid out of the Cuse named Larry Zonka, who's a big banger of a running back, and I think he would be well suited to DC. I think they could get behind a player like that, and he would sort of replace Alfred Morris, who they watched walk away a few weeks ago. Dan Hellie, it goes to you now.
I have to agree with Claybon. Charles Woodson ripped my heart out when he won the Heisman Trophy over Peyton Manning. And I think it would only be fitting that he get drafted by my hometown team and
drop him in there at one of the cornerback
productive
spots.
Player for the Washington Redskins. Yeah.
All right, let's take a look here with the 21st pick in the all-time draft of 2016. The Washington Redskins select cornerback Mel Blount, Southern University.
Sorry, Dan.
I don't know much about this guy, but I have seen him as the combine photos. He's 6'4". He's a giant for a cornerback, kind of like Brandon Browner. We'll see if he can be better than Brandon Browner. Time will tell on that one, but congratulations to your hometown team, Dan Hellie. And thanks for joining us on the DDFP, Dan Hellie.
It's been a pleasure.
Go make your fancy TV. Don't do the same thing you did with your hair on Monday.
Good. I'm keep it just like this. Thanks, boys. It's always fun coming on, and especially with Patrick. I didn't know we were going 4 wide today.
Especially fun.
What?
Handsome and I weren't fun with it.
You guys are always fun. It's especially fun with the fourth wheel.
All right. Watch him on Total Access, then watch him on the draft from Chicago. He's going to be here. But
why do you keep rubbing it in like that?
I don't mean to rub it in.
You've done that 4 times now.
Sorry. Will you show everybody your pants, the viewers on YouTube? What do you call that color there, Hellie?
Burnt orange?
Not peach, apparently.
Hold on. Let's get a better angle.
Burnt orange. Oh, yeah, the moneymaker indeed.
You can't turn it off.
Your pants match your nose. You got a little sunburn.
I did. Yeah, I went to the beach on Sunday. It was good weather, as you know, here in Los Angeles.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, there he goes. Dan Hellie,
Thanks,
the
fellas.
face
See ya.
of NFL media. So there goes Hellie, Handsome Hank. Let's move on to pick number 22. We're up to the Houston Texans. Bucky Brooks, before you give your thoughts, Handsome, Bucky, what do you think the Texans' needs are here?
The Houston Texans made the playoffs, but you have to say you're a little disappointed in that offense. When you look at it, they're kind of like a one-man show. DeAndre Hopkins is doing it all by himself on the outside. Running back is a consideration. You don't have Arian Foster. You got to find someone who can tote the rock. But I'm thinking you may need to find a playmate for Nuke Hopkins. In this draft, you have a couple different options. Michael Irvin from the University of Miami, explosive playmaker, kind of flamboyant. I don't know if he necessarily fits Bill O'Brien's style, but he's certainly someone that you can look at. How about Kellen Winslow? Coming from Missouri, natural tight end, a guy that could possibly revolutionize the position with his athleticism, hands, ball skills, balance, and body control. I'm thinking that you can't go wrong with a tight end because you can control the middle. Let's see if Bill O'Brien agrees.
I like that. I like the thought about a tight end there. There's a kid, real tough guy more than he is a tremendous athlete, but really hard to handle apparently. Mike Ditka out of Pitt. Supposed to be good there, too. Anyway, Handsome, where's
well,
your head?
he mentions Kellen Winslow Sr. I actually prefer Junior. I think Junior could really tear it up.
From the U.
From the U.
Right.
But here's what I'm looking at. Michael Irvin, another good spot. And I do think that receiver is the way to go for that team. I agree that Bucky has it right there. There's a kid, though, that I really like. Played at a smaller school, played at Marshall. The competition wasn't so good, but he dominated all the time. Randy Moss is the guy that I would want to put opposite DeAndre Hopkins.
I'm hearing a lot of character.
Character issues, but you got to put up with that in the NFL.
And people bring that up a lot, but you've seen him have success at Marshall, and this is after some issues he had at Florida State, and we know the coach down there. He's probably going to win a few games, but when we see what he was able to do after that, and Chad Pennington, you don't really know what he had as a quarterback at Marshall, and people talk about lower levels of football like this guy isn't explosive, and I think he's got a chance to kind of take the top off a lot of defenses. I think he could do some stuff eventually.
Well, I like are the opinions of everybody here. The Houston
I feel
Texans,
like we really
though,
just banged the table for Randy Moss.
at number 22, they go away from your thoughts and instead go with Bucky's Michael Irvin, wide receiver, the U. I'll tell you, I like this guy. I like the swagger. I know some people think, we remember in 2015 people getting on Cam Newton for some of his celebratory histrionics, but I like Michael Irvin. He's the first guy I've ever seen catch a ball, and while he's running for a touchdown at midfield, he starts to celebrate. And I think that's
nothing wrong with that.
That's trailblazing in my book. I like the guy who opens both arms and runs in open with the football behind him, dangling for the DBs chasing him. You're never going to catch me mentality. I dig it. Congratulations to the Texans. Michael Irvin in the state of Texas. For some reason, I don't know why. I feel like deja vu or something. In the meantime, at pick number 23, we're up to the Minnesota Vikings. Bucky Brooks, tell us about their draft needs.
The Minnesota Vikings they were just that close to winning their first playoff game under Mike Zimmer. When you look at them, they have a franchise quarterback, a dominant running back, but they still need something else to add a little spice to the offense. I know in talking to their guys prior to the draft, I know they were looking at a wide receiver, really liked Michael Irvin. He goes before them. So now they're sitting there trying to figure out, is there a wide receiver that can fit the bill as a number one receiver? Look, I like this guy, Don Hudson. A lot of people don't know about him. Very prolific in college, has nice hands, outstanding playmaker. But there's another guy from Georgia Tech, playing in a triple option offense, which is a little unusual. Calvin Johnson. Megatron is what they call him down in Atlanta. He is someone that is intriguing, enticing, has a knack for making big plays. If I'm trying to help Teddy Bridgewater, I need to find a playmaker. I need to find one of these guys as a difference maker that could help my team.
I say it all the time. The all-time draft is fun to watch on YouTube or NFL.com/podcasts because we have highlights of most of these guys. It's interesting that we do see Don Hudson highlights there out of the Deep South, but not of this Calvin Johnson, Georgia Tech. He must have, I don't know.
Flown under the radar.
I don't know what happened there, but Claybon. Any chance that the Vikings, informed by what Blair Walsh did in that playoff game against the Seahawks, maybe look at a kicker?
I think that's a spot where you have to look at recent success that they've had or lack thereof. And that
have you been scouting all-time kickers?
I've been looking at a few guys. I know there's a guy we just talked about, Randy Moss's time at Florida State. I think they had one recently. That
Sebastian Janikowski.
Something like that.
It's one of those like long-sounding,
Polish-y
lots
type
of
name.
vowels and consonants in there.
I believe he's still rostered with the Raiders, though, so I don't know that he'll be
he did. He came out a couple of years ago.
That's right, yeah.
16.
True, very true.
So, Claybon?
I mean, we're going back to
see.
the discussion that me and Hank had. I think there's
Maybe Moss doesn't fit in Minnesota, though. That's what I'm thinking.
Really?
It just might not work out for him there. So another name, receiver, maybe a little head-on, a little straight to a guy. Tim Brown played at Notre Dame. Has been a good athlete, good returner.
That region of the country.
That region of the country. Maybe just get the ball in his hands. See what you can do there.
Well, the guy who we don't have any tape of, but I've heard great things, the Minnesota Vikings select with the 23rd overall pick, Calvin Johnson, wide receiver, Georgia Tech. So he's going to the NFC North. We'll see how he performs in the NFC North. Next up, the 24th pick, the Cincinnati Bengals. Bucky Brooks, tell us where you think they might go.
Cincinnati Bengals are now on the clock, and I know Marvin Lewis was disappointed the way the season ended with kind of that debacle against the Pittsburgh Steelers. That means that character is going to be a primary concern when they evaluate this draft class, and they're looking to upgrade their secondary. Ed Reed from the University of Miami, man, this Hurricane is outstanding in coverage, knack for making plays over the top, has sticky hands, great ball skills, also brings some punt return ability. He is someone that could upgrade them in two phases, special teams and defense. But how about Troy Polamalu from USC? This is a guy that is a Tasmanian devil in the middle of the field, outstanding instincts, great ball skills, just kind of has a knack for making plays. He is someone that I think you have to like. If I'm Marvin Lewis, I'm also looking at the D-line. Casey Hampton from Texas could be a guy. Regardless of where they go, it has to be someone on defense because that defense almost got them to the championship.
Hampton has a grown-up body there. I hope the Bengals don't hear the noise about Troy Polamalu. I really would like to see him fall to my Steelers. Handsome Hank, where are you looking here?
Can't disagree with Bucky. I think the only other guy that the Bengals are trying to get over the hump, become a champion. Why not draft a guy named Champ Bailey?
Ooh, I like that, out of Georgia.
Yep.
Yeah, he's a great athlete. How about you,
I think losing Reggie Nelson, you're going to want somebody that can cover a little bit more. It's tough to split hairs because I know that the Polamalu kid out of USC and Bill Reed out of Miami is two prestigious universities, but I like what we see out of Reed in coverage.
Well, either way, I guess it's going to be a happy birthday for him and a sad day for me. I wanted Polamalu to go to the Steelers. Instead, with the 24th pick of the all-time draft of 2016, the Cincy Bengals select Troy Polamalu, safety, USC. On his birthday, you figure he's going to shore up that secondary. I hear he's a real hard hitter, too. And that brings us to pick number 25. There they are, the Steelers. 1 too late. Bucky, what do you think the Steelers need?
The Pittsburgh Steelers are now on the clock. Mike Tomlin loves guys that got a little dog, a little grit in their personality. He want to make sure he upgrades that secondary. Look, considering his background as a defensive back coach, I'm sure he's looking at Charles Woodson from Michigan. Outstanding playmaker, a guy that's played corner, has played safety, also has some wide receiver skills in his background, and can add a value because he can return kicks. When you go and you look at another guy down at the University of Miami, Ed Reed. I know the Pittsburgh Steelers had their eye on Troy Polamalu, but he's off the board. Ed Reed is someone that certainly intrigues Mike Tomlin. Smart guy, the ultimate traffic cop, a center field safety who has a knack for making big plays. It's tough to decide because you get two guys that can change the game. Which one would Mike Tomlin decide is the best fit for the Steel City?
I like a guy from USC, Lynn Swann. He's not the biggest guy, but he's really athletic. I think you'd have a problem. They wouldn't be the biggest pair of receivers, but if you have Antonio Brown and this Lynn Swann, I think a couple of acrobatic type of guys.
Feels like a luxury, though, for the Steelers. I mean, receiver isn't an issue for them.
No, you're right.
At this point, defense is probably the place to go.
Who do you want, Dave? Who you
Well,
hoping to
with
get
the
here?
25th pick, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Ed Reed.
Oh,
safety,
wow.
The U. I think
awesome.
he'll be a good fit there. I mean, I don't know much about the kid, but I have a hunch he'll fit in well in the AFC North battles against.
Yeah, I think he would do.
He's gonna hate. I mean, he's gonna hate the Baltimore Ravens.
You think so?
He's gonna learn to hate those Ravens real quick. I guarantee you
It's
that.
like a requirement, right?
Yeah, but yeah, apparently he's a real ball hawk and a real winner. So you figure he'll fit in nicely with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So congratulations to Ed Reed and to Kevin Colbert and the rest of the personnel guys there in Pittsburgh. And there you go. Mel Blount from Southern goes to D.C. Michael Irvin goes out of the U. 2 guys from the U drafted out of these 5. Irvin goes to the Texans. The Minnesota Vikings get Megatron Calvin Johnson from Georgia Tech. The Bengals take safety Troy Polamalu from SC, and the Steelers round things out for today. Ed Reed, safety, University of Miami, will round out the all-time draft of 2016 later in the week, so make sure you tune in for that. And in the meantime, we close up shop. The all-time draft of 2016 presented once again by McDonald's. Money Monopoly. Go play it. Peel. Eat food. Win prizes.
Money.
Those things are all good.
Yeah,
I like all those
things are all good.